Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teal. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining in to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. So happy that you could join us, whether you're watching on your computer on the live stream or whether you are listening on the local radio station, 1470 AM. I'm so glad that you could be with us today. This show is for you, the family caregiver. Caregiving is not easy. If you're a caregiver, you know that's an understatement. It is something that you probably never thought you'd have to do. Sometimes we're just thrown into that role. And as a caregiver, how do you know what you're supposed to do? Who teaches you? Something we certainly don't learn in school or even college for that matter. And caregiving comes in so many different formats and so many different ways. So I'm glad you're here because when we are a caregiver, the more that we learn, the better that we'll be able to handle not only our caregiving duties, but we'll be able to take care of ourselves better and in turn take care of our loved one better who we're caring for. So that being said, thank you again for tuning in. We are live from Boca Raton, Florida, and I want to share with you all a new email address. If you hear something on this show that you want to comment about, if you have a question about something that you've heard that you would like to comment about, or if you have an idea or you'd like to maybe hear or see something on the show of a topic that you're interested in, you can just email me and we'll make sure that we answer your email and take care of your question on the air the next week. So write this down if you can. If you're driving, sorry, you can't write it down. You shouldn't write it down, but it's easy to remember. The email address for me is Delray, that's DELRAY, at Arden, ARDEN, -courts, COURTS.com. So it's Delray at arden-courts.com. I'd love to hear from you. I have received several emails from many people, and I'm so glad to get the comments and the request, and I'm looking forward to catching up with more of you in the near future. So today we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. And as you know, this show, we talk a lot about Alzheimer's. That's why we have our mascot, the owl. The owl is here for reminding us Alzheimer's is something that, we need to be talking more about. And also, owls are wise. So as our mascot, we're hoping to give you wise advice from all the experts that we interview on the show. We bring experts in many different fields, including caregivers, so that you can identify with other people that have walked in your shoes. That way, you know you're not alone. So today's show, I have an expert in her field, and we're talking about dancing. Who doesn't like dancing? Dancing is fun. A lot of social events revolve around dancing. When we go to parties, birthday parties, there's dancing. When we go to weddings, there's dancing. Celebrations, dancing. Dancing is so prevalent, and we've been doing it since mankind ever, came upon the earth. because it's a very unique way for people to relate to each other. Sometimes dancing is just for fun. Sometimes there's a romantic association with dancing. So if you're a dancer, you like to dance, and even if you don't and you like to watch it, who doesn't watch Dancing with the Stars on TV? A lot of people love that. And there's a reason why it's so popular, because dancing is so intricate and so much fun, and it's associated with music, and there's so much to be gained from it. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how dancing can benefit you, not only your body, but your brain. And the experts say dancing can actually make us smarter. So that's great. That's a great benefit. And we're going to find out how that happens. And we have an expert with us today. Her name is Judy Simon. Judy is an amateur dancer. She's a former fitness instructor. She had her own home health company up in New York, and she was an affiliate geriatric care manager. Judy is with us today as the founder and director of the Alzheimer's Project. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you very much, Marsha.
I'm so excited that you're here today because I think you might know that I love to dance. My mother started me when I was 3 years old taking ballet, as a lot of little girls do.
Yes.
And I just really took to it. And I think some people are naturally inclined to like dancing. I was one of them. And, I've danced my whole life. And so this is a subject that I'm very passionate about. And when you're talking about marrying the topic of dancing with the topic of Alzheimer's and putting them together, I'm in seventh heaven because I'm passionate about both of them.
As we met, when we met, we talked about that, and we immediately connected about the affiliation between dancing and moving and the arts and the connection that it has with people living with Alzheimer's disease.
That's right. And you are a dancer, and
yes.
And we do kind of different types of dancing, which we'll talk about later. But we're here to talk about why dancing is important and how it relates to Alzheimer's. And I want to know, first of all, you have founded a company named the Alzheimer's Project. Explain to us, please, what is the Alzheimer's Project?
The Alzheimer's Project was created almost 10 years ago and kind of has been sitting in the oven and baking in almost like a terminal pregnancy, so to speak, because there wasn't enough scientific evidence to support and allow the public to really embrace the idea of the arts and the connection that it has between healing and helping those with Alzheimer's and other cognitive impairments, and what it can do. So the Alzheimer's Project is a 501c3 that actually was founded to help enhance the quality and cognitive abilities of those people that are living with Alzheimer's disease.
And for people that don't know what a 501c3 is, that means you're nonprofit.
Correct.
Okay. So you're out there to spread the word. You're like an advocate for dancing, marrying together Alzheimer's, and to create an awareness that this is a very important aspect for people that have dementia, where they can improve their quality of life. Is that
Correct.
right? Did I?
Yes,
okay.
you got it.
I got it. Okay. So that being said, you said that it was on the back burner for a long time. So what brought it to the boiling point? When we put things on the back burner, it's simmering, and all of a sudden, the fire gets higher and it bubbles and it boils. And I think that's where you're at now, because this is something that you're actually actively pursuing and actively promoting. What brought it to the boiling point?
Well, in 2012, at the International Alzheimer's Conference in Vancouver, my dear friend and associate, one of the neurologists that helped to really, get this out and put the scientific pieces together, sent me a poster presentation of that was specific to the volume of the hippocampus and how it helps stop the progression of ballroom dancing specifically, helps stop the progression of Alzheimer's disease. And as he wrote to me, I think this is what you've been waiting for. So we were able to kind of, push it out there and get it out on the road, so to speak.
Wow. Okay. So when you really saw the research, the results, that really spoke to you?
Yes, it
And you
did.
said, this is something that I want to get involved in.
Right.
Oh, I'm excited. So we're going to take our first real quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to find all about this from Judy. So we'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. Make First Choice your first choice for home health care. First Choice is state certified for Medicare-covered services such as medical treatment and rehabilitation. Qualified healthcare professionals come to your home and work closely with your doctor to build a care plan designed to get you back on your feet as soon as possible. Founded and operated by registered nurses, First Choice Home Health is dedicated to providing exceptional home health care. Their highly skilled medical professionals have the knowledge and ability to provide patients quality care. Call First Choice Home Health at 561-296-2770. That's 561-296-2770. And tell them you want them as your first choice. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Hi, and we're back with Caregiver Solutions Info, and my guest this evening is Judy Simon. Judy is the director and founder of the Alzheimer's Project, and as Judy just explained, the Alzheimer's Project is actually partnering dancing with Alzheimer's, and she's going to tell us all about that and what that means. And I know, Judy, that one of the things that I checked out your website, and one of the things that you talk about on there is dancing can make us smarter.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so I really want to, know more about this because I love to dance, and if dance is going to make me smarter, I'm going to go do it all the time instead of just sometimes. But how does dancing make us smarter, and why would someone say that?
Well, dancing, the components of dancing require us, first of all, the reason why it is so specific to people that have any kind of cognitive impairment is because the art of dance is nonverbal communication. And those that are living with Alzheimer's disease, you lose the ability, to communicate. So when someone extends a hand, we're communicating with them. It's a lead and a follow that they have to take the direction from the person that is communicating to them. And I think for me that's what was so exciting, that people can still communicate and do still communicate and can remember. The one thing specific to ballroom dancing is what I'm doing at this time in my life, is that there's constant repetition, and that challenges someone's memory all the time. They may not understand right from left in the beginning, but through constant repetition And you don't even have to speak. You can just, extend your right hand, extend your left hand, extend both hands. People will automatically start to follow you and mimic, what you're doing. They'll start to sing the songs. Dancing, it helps with balance. It helps with endurance. It helps with strength. And socialization is amazing between the participants in the group, no matter what stage people are at. So, it sparks that memory. There's no right or wrong. People do what they want to do. They grow, they expand, and for me, it's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing. And you're right. People with dementia can sometimes lose their words. They can lose their memory. They do have their long-term memory that is intact until the very end. Their short-term memory goes. And when you're talking about marrying the dance, obviously there's music associated with dancing. You can't dance without music.
Right.
I guess in your head you could. We all have some songs in our head that we can go dance to. But, normally it's accompanied by music that's playing. And people with dementia remember the older songs. And when you're growing up and you're listening to the songs of your era over and over and over again, and it's in our brains, when we get older, we remember those words and those tunes, and we relate to those.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're playing those songs, not only do you see people with dementia actually starting to sing the words, their facial expressions, they light up. Something like, ooh, yeah, that's familiar to me.
Totally. It's something that we would call procedural memory, and those are things that, like you have in your memory insurance, things that are stored. And in spite of what people may believe, that things cannot be, that people can't communicate, that there's just this total darkness, is not always true. Because if you hit that right button, something awakens. We've seen interaction between husbands and wives, between children and their parents. It becomes a very meaningful expression. Actually for a whole family.
Especially when you see that someone come alive, where you think they're not relating, they're not participating, and you put on a certain music. And then you start, like you say, the nonverbal part with the dancing. Maybe you're clapping your hands. Maybe you're snapping your fingers. Maybe you're swaying side to side. Maybe you're tapping your feet. All of a sudden, okay, they're moving, they're relating, they're involved.
You can actually do the same steps because in the Alzheimer's Project, we do have a syllabus that's been written, and you can just change the beat of the music and you'll get a different reaction. So it's very interesting to watch what happens.
Yes. And you like ballroom. I like country dancing. I like country line dancing and the two-step and the schottische and the traveling cha-cha, and you have a cha-cha in ballroom.
Yeah, we do.
I know. It's a little bit different, but it's basically the same beat. All right. So if I were one of your clients because, I had cognitive impairment
Mm-hmm.
and you were going to help me relate and you gave me a cha-cha beat, it might not be the ballroom, but it's the country cha-cha and it's the same beat.
Okay.
So I could relate to that. I really could relate to that. So tell us how some of your experiences that you've had with seeing how this this project has actually helped people. Now you go into assisted livings, you go into nursing homes, and you actually do a interactive group.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yes, we do.
I don't want to call it a therapy because, as you said, you're not a therapist, right? But
It's therapeutic.
It's therapeutic. So you actually provide therapeutic experience for the clients through your Alzheimer's Project. Although you're not a therapist, we want to make that clear. But it doesn't matter because the result is beneficial. The
Correct.
result is therapeutic.
Correct.
So give me an example maybe of something that, you've witnessed in one of your sessions.
I have lots of anecdotal stories. I think one of the most inspirational was a very challenging woman whose whole body language was very stiff and stern and cold. And you can tell a lot about the people that you're working with from their whole demeanor and the way they walk, the way they hold themselves, sometimes even the way they dress. And she came at me with a walker at a very brisk pace for almost 2 months. And I was in a community 3 days a week because we did a pre and post test to see what the outcomes would be. And no matter what I did, she was full steam ahead. It was interesting to watch the other members of the floor that lived on that floor because it was a memory care unit. And although many of them could not verbally communicate with me, their facial expressions were one of, warning, like, be careful, or they point the finger.
Oh, they weren't receptive in the beginning.
They were fearful of the interaction between this particular person and myself.
Oh, because they knew what she was like?
Right.
Okay,
exactly.
So they were sort of warning you about her.
Right.
Okay.
So finally I said to her, I think it's best, because I knew she understood, if you sit down. You can't disrupt me or the rest of the people in the room. And she turned around and just stormed away and pounced her walker and sat down. That was on a Thursday. And the following Tuesday, she came at me again. And
sort
she
of like
looked at me.
Semi-aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to get the picture straight.
Yeah. And she turned her hands over like this to me.
Like open, palms up,
palm.
For those that can't see.
And she looked at me with what were very cold blue eyes that all of a sudden had a little twinkle. And she said to me, I'm ready.
She was ready. Wow.
So from that, and I still get the chills.
So you had an open invitation.
I had an open invitation. And from that moment on, she was there all 3 days that we participated. She actually had a conversation with me at one point, where before she did not speak to me really. Asked where I lived, asked if I had a family. So
through this interaction, she
the most
opened up.
difficult person, will eventually either join in or leave. Fortunately, for both of us, because I learned a lot from her too. Mm-hmm. She participated, and it was very tender for me.
Yes. Well, it's all it's all in the approach too. With someone with dementia, with Alzheimer's, other types of dementia, it's all in the approach, as you know. But you can't really force anybody to do anything. You can't force a person without dementia to do anything. So you can't try to force somebody to join in. Everybody needs to go at their own pace, and because people that have dementia have memory loss, they're scared. They're frightened because in the beginning stages, they know that they don't have all of their capabilities that they used to, and it frightens them, and they're fearful. So a lot of them are fearful, and when they're fearful, they will react either by fighting against something or running away. So when you said that she kind of fought you because she had her walker and she was sort of using that as her shield and maybe a possible weapon, she was fighting against anything that you wanted to show her, what you wanted to demonstrate, what you wanted her to be involved in, right? You also mentioned that some people might not stay and they leave. Well, those people are running away. Okay, so you have the people that are in flight, and you have the people that are in fight mode, and hopefully the ones that don't flee will be receptive, like this lady. Eventually, when you show them that you care, you show them that they're going to be safe, that you're not hurting them, and you're involving them with a group of people, right? So they're not alone. and they're in a social setting that becomes safe for them.
Totally.
And then you involve music with it, right? And everybody loves music, and we know that people with dementia really relate to music.
They do. I mean, it doesn't matter. You know, there were people that could look like they were sleeping, but as soon as you put that music on, you know, the shoulder goes and the foot goes, and they're tapping, they're nodding their head. Everybody in the room participated in their way because you know, in this group, there's no right or wrong.
Right. Now, are they,
as you said, it's safe.
Right, it's safe for them, and it's enjoyable when they
Right.
realize that they're safe, they're happy, they they're getting something that benefiting them. It's going to be something that they're going to participate in. And when they're in the group, are they all sitting doing this dancing? Is it sit down dance, or do some of them actually stand up, even with walkers, and move their feet?
The project was designed for whatever you can do standing, you could do sitting. So if someone can get up, if they are ambulatory, then they're going to take over. Some people actually take over the room. And actually, when you talk about some of the benefits or, you know, the stories that I have that are dear to me, I remember two women that were, you know, always partnered together. But eventually they noticed that perhaps other people in the room needed more attention. Mm-hmm. And they actually said to me, you know, you could go help that person over there. We'll be okay. You know, and they just carried on with their own, you know, creativity, because many people just, when they heard the music and after just being together, and it is an intimate setting, you know, mm-hmm. because dance is an intimate, you know, a relationship. And because I was in New York one day, I had a scarf, and the group was very, very, you know, animated. And I said, okay. So I happened to put on a Paso Doble, which is not part of the curriculum, but
that's a type of dance.
Yeah, but the room just, and the, you know, the energy in the room called for something that was very fierce.
When I think of that, when you say that, what, Paso Doble,
yeah.
When I think of that, because I have watched Dancing with the Stars, I think of the a Spanish song where they've got the red flag and the bulls coming after them. It's sort of like that type of music, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I took my scarf off, and I was just, you know, waving it, and two the people in the room took their sweaters off.
Oh, no.
And they started waving. So it doesn't really matter what you do, you know.
They were having fun with it.
They were having fun.
They were going with the flow.
And sometimes I let them, you know, show me what they wanted to do, because sometimes that, you know, that does happen.
Yeah.
I think one of the, I was asked by this particular group to please see what would happen if we had the class on Sunday at 4:00, which is known as sundowning, although I think we're kind of changing the name, some of the language.
That's just so our audience understands what we're talking about.
Right.
Sundown syndrome,
yes,
is something that many people with dementia experience. As the sun starts going down in the late afternoon, sometimes they will experience, and you'll notice, different behaviors. Usually it's negative behaviors, more agitation, more acting out, more confusion. Whereas earlier in the day, they would really be very good as far as being their normal selves, but you will notice a change later in the afternoon. So we call that sundown syndrome. Okay. So
thank you.
So now you're at 4:00, which
on
is
Sunday.
On a Sunday, okay, which is typical of the
after
sundown.
People have oftentimes had their family visit or gone out with their family. So I felt slightly challenged.
Okay. Well, you know, rightly so. Apprehensive, at least.
And I said, okay, let's see what happens. It was the most fun that you can ever imagine. And we just put the music on, and the class was supposed to run from 4 to 5. Dinner was usually at 5:00. And at 5:40, we were still going strong.
Wow. They were really into it.
It was amazing.
That is amazing. Well, you changed their focus, too. You gave them something.
And you changed their energy. You know, it's dancing is also cardiovascular.
Yes.
So if you send more oxygen and energy to the brain, the neurons are going to regenerate.
Yes.
And
I'm so glad you ended on that note right before this next commercial break, because when we come back, we're going to talk about how the dancing does affect us physically and what that does for our brain. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney, but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you. Make First Choice your first choice for home health care. First Choice is state certified for Medicare covered services such as medical treatment and rehabilitation. Qualified healthcare professionals come to your home and work closely with your doctor to build a care plan designed to get you back on your feet as soon as possible. Founded and operated by registered nurses, First Choice Home Health is dedicated to providing exceptional home health care. Their highly skilled medical professionals have the knowledge and ability to provide patients quality care. Call First Choice Home Health at 561-296-2770. That's 561-296-2770. And tell them you want them as your first choice. You are listening to your host, Marsha Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marsha. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And welcome back. At this time, I'd like to thank our local sponsors and our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community, for making this show possible. Arden Courts has over 50 locations throughout the United States, and they are a leader in Alzheimer's and dementia care for people that can't be at home anymore, shouldn't be at home anymore, for lots of different reasons. And because memory care is all that Arden Courts does, they are considered the experts in the field when it comes to that. So not only do they take great care of people with the disease, they also take great care of the caregiver. And it's very important to take care of the caregiver. Without the family caregiver, these places that take care of, they need the caregiver. They need the caregivers as advocates. And you will feel so much more peace of mind knowing that you have a partner in your caregiving like Arden Courts. So because of that, Arden Courts would like to offer you, the family caregiver, a free gift. It's called The 36-Hour Day. This is a book that was actually written many years ago by Dr. Peter Rabins. It is in its 5th edition now, which means it's very popular and it's very helpful and useful. The 36-Hour Day book is the family guide for caregiving. It is going to help you navigate caregiving, different journeys that you're going to go through, different paths. It's going to explain the difference between different kinds of dementia. It will explain behaviors. It will give you tips on how to deal with those behaviors. This is the really good resource, probably the number one resource that a caregiver should start with when they're learning how to manage the behaviors of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And Arden Courts would like to offer this to you free of charge. All you have to do to get this book is to call their toll-free number, which is 888-478-2410. Tell them that you heard about this offer on Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they will be very happy to mail you your very own copy. If you know someone who's struggling, who needs more help, maybe have them call too, or call for them, and get this book because it will be invaluable to them, and they will learn so much. And again, that number is 888-478-2410. Now we're back here with Judy Simon. Judy is the founder and director of the Alzheimer's Project. And for short, it's called TAP. So I had asked Judy, what's TAP? Because Judy's a dancer, and I thought, well, maybe she's a tap dancer. She really loves ballroom. But TAP is an acronym for the Alzheimer's Project. I love that, Judy.
I did at one point tap dance.
You did. I think I did too when I was 3 years old. But I love that acronym because it really speaks to what you do. It explains, that it's about music.
Right.
But the Alzheimer's Project, TAP, is about partnering dancing with dementia.
Correct.
And all the benefits that come with that. We've been talking about that, and it's so interesting because Judy's been explaining about what happens when people that have cognitive impairment get stimulated properly with music that includes dancing. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this all came about, because there were actually studies done to prove this. It's just not something that we observe and we say, yeah, but there was actually a major study.
It was done at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. It was a 21-year study to show the benefits. And, they had a control group and a non-control group, as most studies have. And, the outcome was, the purpose was to take certain activities to see what activity would have the most benefit for those that are suffering with a cognitive impairment.
So they're looking for beneficial stimulation for the brain.
Correct.
All right. So what kind of things did they look at? I know the few of them were maybe swimming.
They had tennis. They had crossword puzzles.
Biking,
reading.
And dancing.
And dancing.
Okay.
And dancing.
So I think it's very interesting. I love this because this study over 21 years involved so many people. They were senior citizens that were 75 years or older in this study. And it was actually funded by the National Institute on Aging.
Yes.
And the results were published in the New England Journal of Medicine. And the results were very, very conclusive. I just want to share these.
And specific.
And specific, yes. I want to share this because it says reading, they go through a few of the categories of the activities, and as far as reducing risk of dementia, it says reading had a 35% odd of reducing the risk of dementia. Bicycling and swimming, it said 0. Doing crossword puzzles at least 4 days a week, 47%. Playing golf, 0%. Okay, all you golfers out there.
In Florida.
And dancing, a whopping 76%. And it says that this was the greatest risk reduction of any activity studied, cognitive or physical. That is amazing.
And it's true because it's scientifically now backed. I mean, the more and more conferences and lectures that I go to, people are, as the Alzheimer's Project states, we're uniting the arts and science together. And I think it's kind of long overdue that people recognize that all the arts are really, a way of healing people, and it's amazing to watch what ballroom dancing does. We have people that dance with people that are blind and deaf, and they just
and they can still dance.
They could still dance.
You can
and
still
it's a
dance.
beautiful thing. People in wheelchairs. It doesn't matter.
And there's one key word that they stress when they talk about dancing, improving cognitive abilities, is frequent.
Yeah.
Frequent, okay? So it's not like you can go dancing once a year because you're celebrating your anniversary, guys, all right? This is frequent. And when they say frequent, they're talking 3-4 times a week at least.
In the ideal world.
In the ideal world, right. In the ideal world, right? But the more you do it, the better off it is.
Or the more you do anything. I think for the mature adult, because we don't use the O word or the A word, but the mature and experienced adult, not everybody likes to go to the gym. The gym can sometimes be isolating for people, where when people are dancing, it's a very social atmosphere. They're with other people. You even if you don't have a partner, you're in a social situation.
Right. So, for instance, with my line dancing, you don't need a partner to line dance, but let me tell you how much fun that is when you're dancing and the music's going and you see a whole room of people lined up, and many of them you know personally because you're repetitive, and
right.
It's almost like your social club, your social group, and you're looking at everyone and they're laughing, they're smiling, and you're connected. And I think that dancing lends itself, I think personally one of the reasons that it's so highly regarded for reducing the risk of dementia is because it does incorporate all of these additional benefits with socialization. It's just not something that you're doing, but you're doing it with other people.
Right, correct.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. It goes on to say that, one way to do the stimulating your brain is not just dancing, but to learn anything new. And when you're learning something new, that's also going to stimulate.
And I'm glad you brought that. When they talk about crossword puzzles, because oftentimes people, feel that, with Sudoku or crossword puzzles, that's fine if you've never done crossword puzzles.
Right.
But if you're someone that did the Sunday, Times crossword puzzle, it's not a new activity.
Right. And if you're good at something, it means you're not challenging your brain.
Right.
So if don't pride yourself too much on being able to...
I'm not saying don't do it,
right, but don't be fooled
right.
that it's doing as good to your brain as maybe learning something else that's new. And that's what discussion is all about, is doing something new. So that being said, I found something else very interesting when I, did the research on this, okay? Because I do line dancing. Now, I do other dancing too, but I do line dancing, right? Now, once you learn a line dance, and you have to concentrate, so you're really firing those neurons. And that's what's happening when you're learning to dance. You're firing those neurons. You're creating new pathways in your brain, which is going to help you better in later life. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But you're creating these new neurons and pathways are going to help you to navigate what they call intelligent thinking. So now you're learning a line dance, and I find some of them are easier and some are more challenging. And the more challenging they are, the better I feel when I master it. Okay?
Right.
So once we do a line dance, and we do it, I've been doing it for 20 years. And I'm still doing some line dances that, because they're so popular, that we did 20 years ago. Do you know I can do them without thinking? I can do them with my eyes closed.
Right.
I can do them in my sleep, like almost literally. And the study says that, okay, Marcia, that's not really helping you that much anymore, because it's almost like your muscle memory.
It is.
It is your muscle memory. You're not learning new steps. You're repeating over and over and over and over again. So for someone who doesn't have dementia and you're doing this repetitiveness, it really is like a no-brainer, no pun intended, because you can just do it without thinking.
Right.
So what you want to do is continue to learn the new line dances, learn how to tango, learn how to do different ballroom, the more difficult the steps, the better it's challenging your brain.
And it doesn't matter what stage of life you're at, or in your dancing, in ballroom dancing, because every time that you partner with somebody new, there's going to be a different reaction.
Oh, Judy, I'm so glad you said that too, because you're so right. let's say that you have a partner and you have a same dance partner for 30 years, all right? I've had the same dance partner for 10 years, and I can anticipate what he's going to do. I know what comes next. I know what his moves are. I know what his signals are. I know, okay, now he's going to turn me. I know we're going to do this particular move, like especially when we do a two-step and we're partner dancing. And again, because you anticipate it, you know how to read them
and react.
And he, the man, obviously is supposed to be the leader, and the gal is the follower, but there's still stimulation in that. But what you're saying is, because the stimulation is repetitive, because you do know how to read each other so well,
right?
If you change it up and you have different partners doing the same dance but with different partners, it's going to be more of a challenge, and it's going to be better for you because you don't know what they're going to do. You have to it's something that they describe in the research study as intelligent thinking. It's not rote.
Right.
And intelligent
You have to wait for that cue.
Yes. And then you have to decide, here's that cue. Does that mean I go this way? Does that mean I go that? What does he want me to do? Is this the time I do this? And it's literally thinking on your feet, literally, because you're in the throes. And when it's something that is creative dancing, like ballroom is creative, doing a two-step can be creative unless you do the same routine over and over. But mixing up the routines is creative.
Very.
That's going to cause your brain to think better.
They call it, rapid fire movement.
Yes, decision making.
Decision making.
Yeah, anything that's quick decision making.
You have to react to the way that hand is signaling you, and believe me, it was very challenging for me. Ask anyone that danced with me, but it's something that that happens if even working with people that are challenged. If I could not be at my class and I had to send another person in, they didn't react to that person the same way.
Because you have different signals than somebody else would.
Exactly.
Yeah, you see,
it's interesting to watch when that happens, that even if you do the same routine, it's not the same face.
Exactly. It's not the same face. It's actually not even the same feel. Everybody has a different touch. Some leaders are what I call hard-handed, meaning that they're very strong leads, and others are very subtle leads.
Right.
And some hold your hand tight, and some hold your hand softer, and it feels different, and so you have to react to that too, not knowing what's going to happen next.
And when you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
You don't know what the outcome's going to be. You got to go with the flow, and that's thinking on your feet. That's rapid fire, which is this is what is going to be connecting those neurons and making us. So for all of you that want to improve your brain functioning and keep it going better, longer, take up dancing. For people that already have cognitive impairment, it's going to help them because it's involving them more with things that they can remember.
I think, the public and research is starting to understand and accept that we have to come up with new activities to give people a better quality of life.
Absolutely.
It's not the same. People are living longer. They're living healthier. It's nothing to meet someone that's 100.
Right. And I bet a person that's 100 has not sat in front of a TV their whole life, because if they had, I don't think they'd reach 100.
No.
That's really...
and they dance. I mean, you can look on YouTube at some of these people that are just...
They're amazing.
They're amazing.
They are.
They're amazing.
We're going to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll have some ending words from Judy about dancing and dementia. We'll be right back.
Do you need the advice of an elder law attorney, but perhaps find it difficult or overwhelming getting to appointments? The solution is the Elder Law Department. They bring elder law to you by meeting with you in the comfort of your own surroundings to discuss your personal situation and family needs. In practice since 1994, Heidi Friedman is a member of the Elder Law section of the Florida Bar. She and her team help families with issues that include incapacity and estate planning, asset preservation, veterans benefits, and other legal issues that seniors may face. Call the Elder Law Department at 954-383-1143. 954-383-1143. They bring elder law to you. Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marsha Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marsha. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And welcome back. We've been talking about dancing and dementia. And for all of you that don't think there's a relationship, think again, because dancing is wonderful in and of itself. But when someone has dementia, they can dance too, and they react so positive to it. For people that don't have dementia, it's a wonderful way to improve your cognitive functioning so that it will reduce your chances of getting dementia. And we've been talking to Judy Simon, who's the founder and the director of the Alzheimer's Project. And Judy's with us, and we've been talking about all the wonderful things that dancing can do. And I wanted to reference, Judy, there was an article that I read. It's called Use It or Lose It, Dancing Makes You Smarter by Richard Powers. And it was a very interesting article. You all can find it on the internet. He talks about lots of things about aging and memory. One of the things that the article talks about, it says, do whatever you can to create new neural paths. The opposite of this is taking the same old, well-worn path over and over again with habitual patterns of thinking and living. So what we're talking about is shaking it up a little bit.
Changing.
Change is good, right? Change is good.
But it's hard for people.
It's hard. We know it's hard, but it's good. And when you're talking about changing things, you're talking about learning something new, doing something different. If you're already a dancer, that's great, but you want to change it up a little bit and do a new kind of dance. So now Judy's inspiring me to do more ballroom, although I do waltz and I do some of the, a little bit of the other ball, but I'm looking forward to, getting into more of learning maybe, what's that one?
Pasadena?
Yeah. Because
I might not be first on your list.
I know that's the hardest one. I've seen it on Dancing with the Stars. That's the hardest one. But you want a challenge. So the article says that the harder it is for you, the harder it is to master, the better for your brain. So in other words, don't give up. Keep doing it and keep doing it, because as you're doing it, you're creating these pathways. Richard says that this is how he describes it. The more stepping stones there are across the creek, the easier it is to cross in your own style. And he uses this analogy of trying to get across the creek by stepping on different stones so you're not going to fall in, you're not going to get wet. And I can really relate to that because I was recently in Hawaii and I went across the creek and it was hard trying to figure out which stones to I could jump onto next, And it's not something that we're all used to. but it's thinking critically, it's thinking on your feet, it's making decisions. And he goes on to say that the more of these pathways, more of the options that we have for our brain to function, the more pathways we have. When we get older, the better our brain will be able to function, because if they come to one pathway in a process of thinking and it's blocked, okay,
or you just stay stuck,
or you stay stuck there, or it's blocked, it got plaques and tangles from Alzheimer's or whatever it is, then you have another neural pathway for the intelligence to go around and get to what you want to do. Right. So I think that was a good analogy.
It's a very good analogy.
Good.
And people need to. You need to challenge yourself.
Yes.
You need to mix it up. It's very comfortable to go to the gym after work, and there's nothing wrong with the gym because I went to the gym for a very long time. But, dancing just has so many benefits. So we were brought up. I mean, if you think about it, we were born, with our mothers, rocking us.
There you go. And then humming and singing lullabies.
Right, exactly.
Right. So dancing is not only good for your body, it's good for your brain, right?
It's good for your soul.
It's good for your soul, right. And so that being said, Judy, if someone who's listening to this program, it spoke to them and they want to contact you and they want to learn more about the Alzheimer's Project or how they can get involved, can they call you?
They can.
And could you please give us your number?
My number is 914, it's a New York area code, 914-672-1892. 1892.
One more time.
914-672-1892.
Thank you so much, Judy, for being here today. I love talking about dancing. I'm passionate about dancing, dementia. Thank you all for being with us today. Don't forget to call Art and Courts for your free 36-hour day book. We'll be here next week, same time, same place. And in the meantime, don't forget, give someone a hug. They need it, and so do you.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marsha Teal. Join us next week as Marsha, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions. The opinions